Tech Reimagined. Redefining the relationship between people and technology. Brought to you by Endava. This is Tech Reimagined.
Welcome back to the Tech Reimagined podcast, where we are reimagining insurance with Anne Nørklit Lønborg, the CIO at Trig Insurance, and Kevin Crawford, Group Delivery Partner for Insurance at Endava. Today, we'll get to know each of our guests a little bit better and discuss how technology has changed the way we work. Let's start with Anne. Can you tell us more about your career background?
As you mentioned, I'm Anne Nørklit Lønborg, and I am a mathematician. Originally studied math and physics from the University of Copenhagen many years ago. When I was about to finalize my master, I thought I was becoming a teacher, teaching young kids between 15 and 19 years old in gymnasium. But also there was a little pipeline of mathematicians to IBM. So I chose to join IBM to actually go into software development, programming on mainframes, and also later on SAP systems. And for a quite long journey in IBM, I was there for 18 years. I kind of evolved myself into both project management, but also management and being responsible for large organizations in the end. So I was having a very technical background, moving into to leadership and management in IBM. One of the things that was really important on that journey, I think, was both that IBM is a good school. It's an American company, but it also is very efficient on processes and have a lot of clever people. So that was a good journey for me. And at the same time, I was also being a part of an organization that kept moving forward, being able to renew itself, being able to transform, always wanted to learn and improve themselves. And that culture was kind of a thing that was fitting well into my own values. And one of the things that I really still is a value for me is always being on the move, of improving and being transforming. And I can see that things that I have taken with me into ATP, which was after 18 years in IBM, I went to a Danish, largest Danish pension company called ATP. And there I was doing a transformation of the whole system, transforming out of the mainframe into new systems and also improving the way that we worked, being responsible for the IT development organization. From there, I joined Tryg 5 years ago almost, also with the purpose of transforming Tryg and in the position of being director of IT development. And 2 years ago, I then got the opportunity to become the CIO of Tryg. Privately, I'm a team handball player. I don't know if that's known in the UK, but at least it's big in the Nordics. And we just won the World Championship 1 week ago in the males handball competition. I used to play in the National League, and that might explain also what I'm driven by: change, improvement, being a team player. I think that's things that I use every day in my daily work. Privately, I'm also a mother. I have 2 daughters that are 25 and 22 years old, and a husband that has been my partner for, I think, 35 years or something. So he's getting used to me. So that's me.
Oh, that's fantastic. And you were very modest about studying maths and physics. Didn't you do 5 maths or physics degrees?
Yeah, I did a master's in math and physics, and I also did study a part of a PhD at the University of Queensland in Australia and in Berkeley, actually in California. And then I've also done an MBA on top of that. So I'm quite well educated, you could say.
And Kevin, can you share some of your background?
Yes, so unlike Anne, I went into work straight from school. I managed to delay doing my bachelor's degree until I was 40 years old and had 3 small children at that time. So I did that on a part-time basis in later life. I started working for Cognos, who now develop BI tools and are part of IBM. But at the time, they developed what was called fourth generation development languages. And I started off performing the admin function on their help desk. While I was doing that, I taught myself Powerhouse, which was their 4GL, and moved into a role of product consultant. So I was sort of taking calls on the help desk, helping developers analyse why things weren't working properly. At 18, I managed to move with Cognos to Australia. So I moved to Sydney and had a much more varied role with Cognos, doing pre-sales support, teaching development courses to new programmers, and also doing help desk. So looking back, it was a bit crazy that at 18 years old, I was teaching developers how to develop. I returned to London when I was about 19, worked for a competitor of Cognos, another Canadian 4GL company. I worked in a similar role for a couple of years before contracting. I did about 3.5 years as a contractor until I realised that 4GLs were a dying breed, and I needed to go and get some sort of permanent work where I could retrain myself. That was when I sort of moved into insurance. So I joined a company called SQL Business Solutions, who were a small 30-person consultancy company that supported companies' legacy applications. So generally Lloyd's underwriting platforms that had been written mostly in Powerhouse. So I started working for them and stayed there for 18 years. They made the transition from a legacy support stroke consultancy company into a product company, and I managed most of their sort of very large implementations for some of their big customers, both on the underwriting and broking side. And as you can imagine, in a small company that's developing, I had lots of different roles. So I ran the first support team, I did an account management function, project management, program management, etc. And then 6 years ago, I decided it was a time for a change, and that's when I moved to Endava, and I now head up the insurance delivery practice.
Well, thanks for sharing that. I did think you were going to share how we actually went to primary school together, but we only realised that after we'd been working together for a while.
Yeah, that doesn't really fit into career background. That's more my young school background. But yes, Bradley and I did go to the same school together, although we would have been there at the same time, although I'm just a couple of years older than you.
And Anne, you've mentioned in past interviews that the exciting jobs of the future are likely to be in technology, and that you encourage your daughters to explore different opportunities. Do you want to expand a little bit on that?
Yeah, you could say we have these discussions about talents and where should they come from in a fairly little country like Denmark, and also in the Nordics. It will be kind of a challenge to get talents. And both my daughters has been studying. One of them is becoming a bachelor in economics and IT, and my oldest daughter is studying at the University of IT right now. And I've been kind of nudging them into that, especially my oldest daughter is maybe more like an HR kind of person. I have just encouraged them a lot to go into the IT space, because no matter what job they would get in the future, there is a requirement of being able to adapt, take into use new IT stuff all the time, and be curious and use it as both a tool but also a kind of a business involvement. So get that understanding from the beginning of your education is really important. And I think they have both taken the challenge, and also my oldest daughter, who's more to HR, she's now becoming a service designer, and that's exactly what we need in Tryg right now, because that's the ones that can translate what is it that the customer wants, how do we put that into a solution, being that space where we try to understand the customer much better than the insurance industry has done before. So I think there's a need for all kinds of roles, and also talent.
And Kevin, you've also got children. What advice do you give to graduates entering the insurance industry or the technology industry, or maybe just starting out?
Somebody who's going to move into the insurance industry needs to be I think respectful of the history of the industry. A lot of people sort of view it as an industry that hasn't changed and is potentially sort of behind peers in banking and payments. But I think the industry is going to change. So people need to go in there. They need to embrace change. They need to work and help modernise it. But I think that they need to do that without sort of disrespecting where it's come from. I think it's quite interesting talking about the whole sort of education piece. And I personally think IT should be something that's a compulsory subject for a number of years for students, because it is so important going forward. I remember taking one of my youngest children to a new school to have a tour, and I think he was 8 years old at the time, and we went into the IT room, and there was Google paint all over the walls, and there was children sort of sitting in a group, and they invite you to ask what's going on, and they said we're having a sprint planning session. They were running agile at the school, so they were scribbling things on the walls. They had tasks written in a Kanban style assigned to all of the students, and they'd have planning sessions and then retrospectives. It was fantastic. They actually, took a classroom and actually emulated something that is happening in offices all over the world.
That's amazing. And Anne, have you had mentors along the way?
Yeah, I have had mentors on the way, which has been, some of them have been valuable and some of them have not, but I think it has been fit for the purpose. It has been a lot of networking also, I think, and never with a gender purpose seen from my chair. But I'm right now very much aware of being a role model, because I'm maybe not the only one, but there's not that many female CIOs in the Nordics in a listed company in the Nordics. So to become a role model is important for me, and I also join kind of sessions at the universities where I speak about my career and try to also advise the young students about how to kind of engage with the technologies. I prioritize time on going out there on the educational institutions and do mentoring. Also, I have kind of started a good little pipeline, I think. So I've created a lot of student jobs so they can part-time when they're studying. And that's both females and males, going into a student job and start working in the insurance industry in my organization. And then we usually end up hiring a lot of these things combined together, being a role model, being open to kind of students, opening the door. I also have interviews when students are writing their thesis, and I prioritize that as well, just to see if I can get the talents and the broader view on people, and also represent the insurance industry with a modern face, you could say.
Well, that sounds really good, because there's lots of articles about how the insurance industry is not particularly appealing to university graduates, that it's seen for all sorts of negative reasons, are quite staid and far too traditional and generally unappealing compared to other industries. So it sounds like you're doing some really good PR for the insurance industry.
We wanted maybe to get a little traction from the younger ones. We made a job description, and I think we got one that applied for the job. We finally got some young people in our organization, and we asked them to make the advertising for the job. And they were writing these completely different, and they used their network, and they were working completely different from where we were in the organization. And then we have just used their network, and I mean, now we are really attractive for the youngsters, because there's also a big group now of young people in there. So it's a matter of getting started and also demonstrate that we want to invest in them.
Oh, that's fascinating.
In London, there's a real focus at the moment on trying to make the insurance industry more inclusive, and to attract different types of people, and so Lloyd's has a big focus on that at the moment. I think, unfortunately, London, it sounds like it's very similar to the Nordics in the fact that it's very male-dominated, especially in the IT arena. I'm very refreshed when I visit some of our teams in Central Europe, where the gender mix is a lot more balanced, and it does attract a lot more young people. So I think, I'm very hopeful from an IT perspective that we are able to attract that kind of mix, and it's not seen as a male thing over there. It's seen very, very equally between all genders.
And there's also other parameters that is quite amazing, that they are important to the young ones. That's also the way we work, the agile methodologies and the tools and technologies that we take into use. We have to keep up the pace otherwise they just don't want to work there. And also the surroundings, that they are sitting in an office. Now, of course, we're sitting at home, but when we were at the offices, the office should be up to date, modern. You should have a PC. When they're working on a Mac, we should be able to continue that journey with them, because otherwise they don't want to work there. So I think there's some very specific things that where you can meet the younger generation and make it more comfortable for them.
Yeah, if you want to attract the best talent, you need to give them an environment that they want to work in. Not all top talent is going to look the same, wear a suit, have the same haircut.
Well, thank you both for joining Tech Reimagined and for sharing such valuable advice with us. We hope that you'll join us next time when we reimagine another topic that impacts our daily lives. Until then, please remember to like this podcast and hit the subscribe button.